Hello, and welcome back to the British Accent Podcast. I'm Emily.
And I'm Nick. Grab a cuppa, find a soft spot to land, and let's have one of those conversations that feels like a long exhale.
Today, we're diving into a thought that quietly weighs on a lot of people, this feeling of being behind. Behind in your career, behind in relationships, behind in life in general. And we just want to say, right from the start, you're not behind. You're just on a different timeline.
That pressure to be somewhere else by now, it creeps in so subtly. Like, you see someone your age getting promoted, married, traveling the world, buying a house, and you start wondering, why not me? What did I miss?
Exactly. But what we forget is that everyone's life unfolds differently. It's not a race. It's not even a straight line. It's more like a web of messy, beautiful, unexpected turns, and just because your path doesn't look like someone else's doesn't mean you're doing it wrong.
I think it's especially tricky now with social media. We see everyone's highlight reel and we compare it to our behind the scenes. We don't see the struggle, the self-doubt, the quiet rebuilding that happened before that success photo was posted.
And even timelines that look perfect from the outside often come with their own invisible sacrifices. You don't know what someone gave up to get where they are, or whether they are actually happy once they arrived.
There's this quiet bravery in taking your time. In trusting your own rhythm, even when it doesn't match what's expected. Maybe you're building something deeper. Maybe your season right now is preparation, not performance.
We're taught to rush everything. Love, careers, healing. But some of the most meaningful parts of life take time. And you're allowed to move through them slowly. Deliberately. With care.
And the thing is, no one really tells you how non-linear growth actually is. You might be doing all the right things, putting in the effort, showing up every day, and still feel like nothing's moving. But it is. Just not in the way you expected.
Yes. Progress often looks like stillness from the outside. It's quiet. Like healing a wound or growing your roots. No one sees it, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. Just because your timeline doesn't look like someone else's doesn't mean it's less valid.
You know what really shifted things for me? Realizing that life isn't some rigid checklist, graduate by this age, career by that age, relationship, kids, house. That timeline doesn't fit everyone. And honestly, it's okay if you don't want it to.
I love that. And it's also okay if you do want those things, just not all at once, or not the way everyone else seems to be getting them. You're allowed to honor your own pace. You're allowed to take detours and change your mind.
We don't speak enough about how much strength it takes to choose a different rhythm. To say, actually, I'm going to trust my timing. I'm not rushing into a job I hate just because I'm supposed to have it by now. I'm not marrying someone I'm unsure about just to tick a box.
There's so much quiet courage in that. Because it often means sitting with uncertainty a little longer. Letting go of comparison. Choosing peace over pressure. And trusting that your life will still be meaningful, just maybe not in the way the world told you it would be.
Sometimes we confuse fast with successful. But a slow path can be incredibly rich. You get to know yourself better. You make decisions with intention. And when things finally come together, they feel more rooted, more yours.
You're not behind. You're just writing a different story. And the pages you're on now still matter. Even if they feel slow. Even if they feel messy. They are still shaping something real. Something worthwhile.
And I think sometimes, it's not even just about comparing timelines. It's the internal question that creeps in, am I failing? You look around, and you start to wonder if you've missed some unspoken deadline everyone else seemed to know about.
Yes. That quiet self-doubt, the kind that doesn't always say much out loud but lingers in your chest. And the truth is, you're not failing. You're evolving. And evolution doesn't always come with certificates or applause. It's often silent and deeply personal.
And honestly, it's worth saying this too, some of the most beautiful parts of your life might come later. Later than expected. Later than planned. But they won't feel late when they arrive, they'll feel right. And that's what really matters.
Absolutely. Some things need time to mature. Not because you're slow, but because you're being thorough. You're learning things now that will serve you deeply later. Lessons that people who rushed through might never get to understand.
And it's not just about arriving at milestones. Sometimes it's about becoming someone who can hold those milestones well. Like, what's the point of reaching the peak if you're exhausted, lost, or full of regrets when you get there?
Exactly. You're not just building a future. You're building the version of you who can live in it. And that kind of growth, it can't be microwaved. It needs time, reflection, rest, even setbacks.
Setbacks especially. Because they teach you resilience. They teach you what truly matters. Sometimes, being off track is what brings you closer to yourself.
You know, I think we all need that gentle reminder now and again. Not being where you thought you'd be by now isn't a failure. It's just life. Unfolding in its own strange, intricate way.
And maybe instead of measuring ourselves against someone else's clock, we just focus on what's actually true for us, what feels real, what feels right, even if it's not conventional.
Because you're not late to your own life. You're right on time for the version of it that's meant for you.
And you know what else? Sometimes the detours we resent the most end up teaching us things we didn't know we needed. Like patience, humility, or even rediscovering what we actually want, versus what we thought we were supposed to want.
Yes. There's such a difference between chasing what looks good from the outside and choosing what genuinely feels aligned on the inside. That takes time to figure out, and honestly, not everyone gives themselves permission to explore that.
Because we are often in a rush to arrive somewhere that looks impressive. But when you slow down, you realize, there's no trophy for being the fastest. And there's no shame in needing more time to understand who you are.
There's also beauty in not having all the answers yet. Like, maybe your timeline feels unclear now because you're still gathering the pieces. And that's not a lack, it's the foundation of something more meaningful later.
Absolutely. We forget how much is happening beneath the surface when things seem quiet. Just because it's not public or Instagrammable doesn't mean it's not powerful. Some of the most transformative seasons are the invisible ones.
It's funny how we celebrate arrivals, but not the quiet middle, the time when someone is still figuring it all out. That middle space deserves more respect. Because it's where the real internal work is happening.
Yeah, the middle is where you realize who you are when you're not performing. When you're not being applauded. When it's just you, your hopes, your fears, and that quiet little voice saying, keep going.
That voice matters. And so does every tiny step forward, even the ones that don't feel like steps. Even the ones where you just chose to rest instead of quit. Or breathe instead of break.
You're not behind just because your progress doesn't look loud. You're not failing just because the finish line is still out of view. You're simply living a life that moves differently. And that's more than enough.
And maybe we need to stop thinking of life as a race altogether. It's not about beating anyone to some imaginary finish line. It's about noticing your own rhythm and learning how to honor it.
Yes, completely. Some people are sprinters, some are marathoners, and some take long scenic routes with a few coffee stops along the way. And all of those are valid ways to move through life.
I love that image. The scenic route might take longer, but you see more. You learn more. You feel more. And sometimes, it leads you to places you never even knew existed.
Exactly. And just because it's taking time doesn't mean it's going wrong. It might just mean it's growing deeper roots. That's something people don't always talk about, some of the most solid things in life grow quietly and slowly.
You don't see a tree growing, but give it time and suddenly it's towering. I think people are like that too. We don't always notice our own growth until one day we look back and think, wait. I've come so far.
And that's the thing. You have come far. Even if you're not where you thought you'd be, you're carrying wisdom and strength you didn't have before. That matters more than any timeline.
It does. And maybe we're not meant to follow a script. Maybe the whole point is to write one that actually fits who we are becoming, at our own pace, in our own way.
And to remember that growth isn't always loud or visible. Sometimes, just getting through the day with your values intact, that's growth. Sometimes staying kind when you're tired, or choosing to believe in yourself again, that's growth too.
Honestly, I think the most powerful timelines are the quiet, authentic ones. The ones that unfold patiently, with intention. The ones that teach you to trust that your pace is sacred, not late, not early, just yours.
So wherever you are right now, we hope you know, you're not behind. You're not broken. You're simply on a timeline that's unfolding in its own unique, beautiful way.
And just because it's not the same as someone else's doesn't mean it's wrong. You're allowed to take your time. You're allowed to grow slowly. And you're allowed to define success on your own terms.
Thanks for spending a bit of your time with us today. If this episode gave you something to think about, or just reminded you to breathe, we're really glad it reached you.
Take care of yourself. And as always, keep being gentle with your journey. We'll see you in the next one.
See you soon.